And we're live. Hey everyone, I'm Marco. I'm one of the code mentors here at the FirehoseProject, and I run you guys through today's info session. Let's see, what do we have in store here? First of all, I want to run you guys through our core curriculum and explain a little bit what we actually do and what kind of web applications we're building, how we put test-driven development into our curriculum, what we do with algorithms, and what you guys can expect from the group project, and also what we do for entrepreneurs. Like, how do we customize our curriculum so entrepreneurs on one side get their own web application idea launched, and people who want to switch careers, seek a job, they're actually ready to join a technical team at a company or a startup. Then also I want to go and talk a little bit about our support system, right? How mentorship sessions work, what our weekly office hours are all about, and talk a little bit about our Q&A forum, the whole support system that we have for you guys. And then usually what I'm going to answer is a simple question, which is, what can I actually build after the project, after the Firehose project is over? What can I do? What can I launch? What kind of skills do I have? Besides, obviously, if you're an entrepreneur, having your own web application, your own MVP live, or if you're a job seeker, landing that job, right? What are the core skills? And I want to answer that in a simple and straightforward way for all of you guys. Now, throughout this info session, if you guys have any questions, right, ask me. Either email me, all of you guys should have my email address, or better, go onto the Google Plus page and you have that little box. Put your question right in there, and I usually go through all the questions and answer them at the end. I have about 10, 15 minutes where we can go over all of you guys' questions. And I've already received a whole bunch of emails with questions, and I'm happy to answer them. Okay, let's jump in. Core curriculum, right? First of all, the whole program is split into two parts. There's first a pre-work, right, the preparation course, and most of you guys are already on it. For the people who are listening in right now and they're not on the preparation course, on the pre-work, go to theFirehoseProject.com, find the pre-work in the top nav, and apply for it, right? Take a moment to put in something good and meaningful as your coding goals and your coding background into the application, because we look at every single one that comes through, and we can give you an account so you can start coding and working on your fundamentals. Throughout the 2 weeks, right, we teach you HTML, CSS, writing Ruby scripts, right? You solve coding challenges, you get code reviews. That's happening the first 2 weeks. Depending on how good you do on that, we either accept you or we don't accept you in the core program. So that's our application process. Once you're accepted into the full program, we have about 12, 13 weeks with you guys. First, what we do is we obviously need to install the whole web development environment. That takes about 45 minutes. We have a custom script that hundreds of students went through. It's really smooth. Once we have a professional grade web development environment installed on your machine, first thing we teach you is building a simple web application, usually within 10 hours. We want you to build something and push it live on the internet as fast as possible and share with your friends and family so you get user feedback and user-generated data. That application is a pretty simple one. It takes a simple quote through a form and stores it in a database and randomly displays that on the screen. It's meant to give you a 360-degree view over all the different tools that we're using, right? You're writing your more Ruby code, using the Rails framework, using Git for version control, using GitHub to share your code and back it up. We're using Heroku as our server, and you got to interact with your Postgres database. All of that happens in the first 10 hours with us. Then what's also going to happen is we wrap that into a mobile-first design. So when you're at a party and you pull out your phone and you say, hey, look, this is what I built last weekend, the reply from your friends, it should be nothing except like, oh, wow, you did this? That looks awesome. That's always what we're shooting for. Things need to look good on desktop, mobile, and tablet, right? That mobile-first design approach is what we're going through the entire program. Now, we want to keep your learning curve steep, so the next application that we're building is a Yelp clone. And I think the most interesting feature that we're building there is integrating with the Google Map API. So that means we need to write the Ruby code to grab an address that was saved in the database, translate that address into longitude and latitude coordinates, pass those coordinates back into the Google Map API so we get the pin on the map. So if I have a pizza place and I create a pizza place and I put in my address, I get a pin on the map where my pizza place is located. Obviously, that wouldn't be a fully functional web application. That would be really not feature-rich. It wouldn't be that helpful. What's really helpful is if we add star ratings to that, if we add user comments to it. Also, what I want is an automated email notification feature that If one of you guys comes to my awesome pizza place and gives me a 5-star rating and leaves a comment, I want to get an automated email and says, hey, somebody just gave you a rating and a comment. You may want to check up on that and actually reply with a link that beams me straight into the application where I can reply to that comment. What we also build, obviously, is user authentication, right? We need to have a login, logout, user registration feature as well in our Yelp club. What we also do is a simple user dashboard. That's where we show some analytics, like how many 5-star reviews did I get in the last week, how many comments, those sort of things, right? That usually takes our students about, I'd say, 3 to 4 weeks. Next thing what we're doing is we keep the learning curve steep again, and we build an online learning platform, a 2-sided marketplace with you. In that 2-sided marketplace, we have instructors and we have students. These students are able to purchase courses from instructors. And you heard that right, in purchasing. So that means we also need to make sure we can accept credit cards right on our platform. So that means we need to integrate with a payment API. We're using Stripe so people can actually transfer money through your own platform that you're building. But I think the most important feature that we're building is actually having those different user roles. We have users on one side and we have instructors on the other side. And tracking on a database level which user, which student bought which course from which instructor and how the money is supposed to flow over your platform, that is really challenging, and it powers a lot of applications out there in the real world. If you're thinking about Facebook, right? I put up a picture, some of you guys like it. Who gets the notification if another comment was coming up? Like I get a notification, you get a notification, but you get a different notification than I did when somebody liked my picture, right? And tracking those database relationships and those interactions on a database level, that's really challenging and it's key. And that's what we're learning in that application because we're building a 2-sided marketplace with different and more complex user roles. The other thing that we're learning there is JavaScript, right? We have a full section dedicated to that where we actually improve our user interface by writing JavaScript. So for example, the user experience for our instructors and organizing their individual lesson blocks isn't that good if they have to renumber things and then refresh their page. What we do is we build a drag and drop interface so they can drag and drop the individual lesson blocks up and down the screen without refreshing the page. So we're using JavaScript, jQuery, and an AJAX request for that. So we teach you what you need exactly when it matters. And in that case, it matters to improve the user interface to make it a drag and drop interface. So in turn, improve the user experience for your instructors on your platform. That's what we're learning there as well. Obviously, we need to learn video streaming techniques as well. So we pack that into that application too. That usually takes people about another 3-4 weeks. The next thing that we're doing is we're teaching you test-driven development, right? Let's zoom out a moment. What's test-driven development? First of all, what are software tests in general, right? That is, when we build features, we want to run automatic software tests on our platform to make sure nothing is broken. Test-driven development takes that a step further. That means we're first writing our tests before we build a feature. Test fails, then we build a feature. Test passes, we know we have 100% test coverage. It's an industry standard, and anyone, be it entrepreneur or be it a career seeker, should really know how to actually make sure you have an adequate test coverage on your application so you know your features are not breaking. On the job, and a web development team, that is an absolute must to have. That's the bread and butter, as some of our graduates put it, to actually getting a job and being a high impact employer from day one. Now, what we also do during those first 8 weeks where we learn test-driven development and building several web applications with you, we also focus on algorithmic challenges, right? You need to learn how to write really good Ruby code and write algorithms to actually power more advanced web applications than a Yelp clone, for example, or a Facebook. Those are simple applications to build. So we're doing those applications all in the first 8 weeks and focusing on the algorithmic challenges. Now, we split up the program. If you're an entrepreneur, we have you build your own web application, launch your own MVP. If you're a career seeker on the other side, we put you on a group project. Let's focus on a group project first. During the group project, we build an advanced web application with you together as a team. And why are we doing this? Because in the real world, the best software is built by amazing teams. And you better know, as a career seeker, as a junior web developer, how to work together on a team in the real world. What are we building? It's a chess game. Now, people usually say like, come on, Mark, it's a chess game. It's not that exciting. But it really impresses technical hiring managers to build something that's more advanced than simply storing some pieces of information from a form in a database and showing us something else. If you think about a chess game, there's so many pieces on the field, on the board, on chessboard, and when you track on a database level all the moves, think about the algorithm you need to write to declare checkmate. There's so many different positions and possibilities, and we all need to write code for that, to account for that. And we need to write that code efficiently and clean. That is exactly what impresses technical hiring managers, because they can see that you're, from day one, a high-impact employee on any of their teams. So on the other hand, we do that also, in addition, we do that as a team, right? So you really learn how to use GitHub in advanced mode, as it is done in the real world, right? You collaborate, you do code reviews. You have what's called branches. You review somebody's code. You give them the thumbs up, or you tell them, hey, I want you to do some reviews there. You also need to make sure your test coverage is up, so everything is tested of all the different features, so nothing is broken. It's absolutely crucial that you know how to do test-driven development in a team environment, building an advanced application if you want to land a job. That's why we're focusing 4 weeks on that. Now, for the entrepreneurs, if you want to launch your own web application, what we do in the first step is we wireframe your entire application out. That means we draw out every single screen of your application, and we break it down into individual coding blocks or coding steps. And then we implement them piece by piece. So you're building feature after feature, and you ship it live. Get user feedback consistently. And you do that together with your mentors, applying everything that you learned in the previous 8 weeks, and applying them to launching your own application in the final 4 weeks. That is how we split up the curriculum for our entrepreneurs and for our career seekers, career switchers. Now, what's the support system, right? There's multiple pieces, as I said before. We have a Q&A forum, we have weekly office hours, and we have one-on-one mentorship sessions. Now, usually people want to hear about the one-on-one mentorship sessions first, but let me explain to you why our Q&A forum is so important. And people usually go, oh, come on, Marco, it's a Q&A forum. I know how that goes. I post a question, I get an answer. I get it. But it's what that Q&A forum enables us to do. So let's think. Thursday night, you're coding, you're building your Yelp phone, you're working on the automated email notification feature, and you have an error message. Something is broken. You can take the error message, take a screenshot, or copy and paste it into the help forum, in the Q&A forum. Within an hour or two, you have an answer. We help you get unstuck. And you can do that as often as you want. Now, what that enables you to do is when you come to the mentorship sessions, you come to the mentorship sessions error-free. So that means that during the mentorship sessions, we can deep dive and actually focus on what matters most to you. So for example, if you're having a hard time writing software tests, we can write additional tests with you. If you want to know how to make your branch or your code better in a branch on a group project, we can work on that. If you need to improve your algorithmic skills or improve that algorithm, we can solve that and help you in the mentorship sessions right then and there. Rather than going in and helping you, hey, on line 5, you have a missing comma. Hey, on line 28 on this other file, you're missing an equal sign. That is not a good use of our mentorship session time, and that's what a lot of other companies are doing. We don't want to do that. We help you with the forum when you need the help for the simple typos and the simple mistakes. So when you come to the mentorship sessions, we can really deep dive and build an additional feature on top of your application, write more tests, work on what really matters and what gets you ahead, so you're learning more faster. Now, we also have the weekly office hours, and I love the weekly office hours. That's a moment when all of our students come together in a video conference, and we go through anything that comes up, right? It could be live troubleshooting of the missing comma, how to write a better software test, something that's gone wrong in the group project, right? When people collaborate, just like in the real world, sometimes weird error messages happening. How does a professional web developer deal with those situations, those challenges? Or career advice, anything goes. What's the best is that you have people from the whole program in one video conference. So that means oftentimes people are like in week 1 or 2, they ask you a question. And if you, on the other hand, in week 10, you can go and answer that question and then solidify your learning in a different way. Likewise, if you're in the very beginning of the program and you see somebody asking a complicated question from week 10 or week 11, you can go in and be like, oh, wow, this is really hard. I can't quite help that person, but I can see the path. This is where we're going. So that's why I love the weekly office hours so much, because it's for the whole community to come together and actually meet each other and work together with each other. Now that's the support system, right? The Q&A forum enables us to have really high impact mentorship sessions, and we also have the office hours where everyone comes together. Now, if you're a career switcher and you're on the group project for the last 4 weeks, you also have weekly agile team meetings where you need to come together with your team and discuss all the different steps that you're going to work on, the different coding features for this week. Just like in the real world, we have weekly check-ins for our team projects as well. Now, that was the support system. Now, I said in the beginning, I want to tell you guys, what can you really do? What are you able to do? What are you able to accomplish after the program is over? Obviously, if you're an entrepreneur, you have your own application live. If you're a career seeker, right, you land that job and you get a junior web developer job. But what you can do is, after the program is over, you can create, right? If you have an idea, something that you want to build, you can go, take the weekend, take a couple days, open your computer, start coding, and build and ship something live. You can create, and I think that's the most powerful feeling, the most powerful skill that comes out of joining the Firehose Project. You can build whatever comes in your mind, you can build and you can push live. Now, I'm about through with most of what I want to tell you guys, so let me jump in. I'm seeing a whole bunch of questions coming in on the side, so I'm gonna look in and see if I can answer some of you guys' questions. So if you have any, as I said, either email me or send them through the Google Plus page and put them in the little discussion box. So let me see what I have here. Okay, let's see, a few ones here. Okay, what's the application process? That's a good question. Application process, as I said before, is pretty straightforward. I want you guys to go to thefirehoseproject.com, look in the top nav, apply for the coding pre-work. In that coding pre-work, we teach you how to build a simple splash page, a simple HTML and CSS page. We show you how to write the Ruby codes. We show you code flow, methods, function, arrays, how all that works. Those are your coding fundamentals. And we want you to submit several coding challenges for review, and we make suggestions on how to improve your coding challenges. If you pass all these coding challenges, we accept you in the core program, and then we start the core program. We usually start the core program within a week or two, but sometimes students want to have a quick break in between. Totally flexible, we can do that too. So great question. Let's see what else we have. Oh, how are the materials presented? That's another really good one. We present the materials in several different ways. There's written guides, there's video instructions, and there's live instructions. Now let's focus on the written guides first. First of all, why are the written guides, right? There's a really detailed written guides that teach you step-by-step how to build a web application, how to build a certain feature, like the automated email notification, how to deal with your database relationships or user registration. You learn how to do that in detailed steps. Now, why did we decide to go with written guides? We did that for two reasons. I think the first one is because in the real world, you're always dealing with written documentation. There's always written guides to either work with open source code or to connect your application with an API, Google Map API, SendGrid API, you name it. Any API has written documentations. There's never a video that explains to you how to do it. So by going through our written documentation, you learn, in effect, how to use written documentation, written guides to actually work with code. So it prepares you for the real world when you need to use written documentation. The other thing is, it's a really rich resource that you can search really fast to get to the spot where you need to be and find that code snippet that you need for some other application. And we see that time and time again, that our graduates actually come back to the written documentation and go in and be like, oh, I need just that one piece to integrate with that API, and I forgot how to do that, and they use it as a resource. The other thing is our video guides, right? We give you video guides when you need them. At the moment, we know now this will click if you watch those videos. For example, we have one on object-oriented programming. We have one on model view controller architecture. How do all the different pieces of web application fit together? We give you a video session on that one. Then we obviously have the live instruction, right? These are the weekly office hours and the one-on-one mentorship sessions. Great question. Okay, let's see what else we have. Let's see, why is the group project so important? That's a great question. I kind of mentioned that already, right? If you're a career seeker And the most critical skill to getting hired as a web developer is knowing how to work as a team, because that's so important on day one of the job. You need to know how to submit code, how to review code, how to write your tests on a team, and how that whole process works. If you have that, and you can demonstrate that in the technical interview process, you're so far ahead. You have such a big competitive advantage than all the other people who don't know how to do that. So that's really key that you know how to do that. And don't just know it for like a project that you work with a few people. Like, have a real group project on an advanced application, like a chess game that's challenging to build, that impresses technical people, technical hiring managers, and senior web developers, and then work together as a team for several weeks, not just a side project that you do that work with one other people together. You want to have the weekly agile team meetings. You want to have the check-ins. You want to have multiple pull requests. And you want to work with several people together in something more advanced. Cool, great question. Okay, what are some of you graduates are doing now? Great question. So we have multiple graduates, right? There's some who are entrepreneurs, like Steven out in Sacramento. He built an on-demand medical marijuana delivery platform, right? So you can order an ounce or whatever, or an eighth, and then you see on the map, you see a car driving towards your location, and when it's close by, you get a notification, you walk down, you grab a little bag, payment is already handled. He launched that app, he got featured on local TV stations, a bunch as well, and he has over 100 paying customers after his first month of launching, right? So that's the entrepreneur story that we have. Then we also have like Erin, for example. She's in New York City. She was a receptionist. And worked for a big marketing company on the front desk. And now she works at Artsy, one of the leading, I'd say, art and tech company in the US, if not the world. If you know what Pandora is, where Pandora mapped the genome of music, Artsy is mapping the genome of art. And she's working on the Art Genome Project. So if you go to our blog, you can see an interview with her where we talk about exactly what she does. And it's really amazing what she does there. So she went from receptionist to working on the Art Genome Project. Or then there is Angel out in LA. He doesn't have a college degree. He only has a high school degree. He used to sell cars off of a parking lot. That was his full-time job. And now he works at Sensei, which is a young startup. And he's one of their lead engineers on that startup. So that's another really great example. And he has a blog post too. And I think we link to it as well, where he gives us reviews, and you can learn a lot of that. So that's what some of our graduates are, and super proud of all of them. So let me see, there's a few other questions, I think. Here's one from Andrew. Where would the office meetings take place? All right, so Andrew, the office meetings, the weekly office hours, they're all virtual, right? It's a video conference. So you can get a link just like now, but we have it two-way, right? So we can see you, you can see us, and we can share screens and code together that way. Similar to what you would have in a one-on-one mentorship session. You go via Skype or Google Hangout, imagine that, and you see each other and you can share screens, and you can also access each other's keyboard if the need is, so you can pair program. Great question, Andrew. Let's see about anything else in here. There's a few people who just emailed that they couldn't make it. They watch it later. Let me just read this. Okay, so Ross just asked me, okay, so I don't have a lot of coding background. I have a good grasp of Photoshop and worked in marketing. Is your program right for me if I don't have a lot of coding background, or will I be lost? You know, I really started doing this, but I'm not quite sure, will I be lost, right? Because I don't have a lot of coding background. I think, Ross, to answer your question, you won't be lost. Go through, apply to our pre-work, and go through. The pre-work is meant to get you from zero knowledge to like 20 miles an hour, right? It's the first kind of where we get you moving. Then if you solve all these coding challenges, we accept you in the full program, and then we really accelerate you, right? There we can make the determination, actually, do you comprehend code? Actually, do you like that? Do you enjoy that, right? And that's really important because you want to make that decision. You want to know if you enjoy coding and building something before you start and commit for the big program, for the full program. So definitely, Ross, I'd say apply for the pre-work, apply for the coding preparation course, go through, and then we see how we can help you. So great question. There's another one. All right, Preston couldn't come today. Preston, I'll send you the recording and you can watch it that way. Cool, good stuff. Let's see, do I have anything else? Marco just asked me, can anyone apply for this prep course? Yeah, definitely, anyone can apply, Marco. Go through, take a moment to actually fill out the application, then just copy and paste some stuff in there. Actually tell us what's your coding goal, what's your coding background, tell us what you like to do in your free time. Those are a few questions that we have in there. And then if you apply right now, I can go in and create your account right after the info session. We can have you started. Takes about 2 weeks to go through. Some people complete everything faster, but definitely helps you. So I'll send you guys also the link to the pre-work application right after this info session. And I can also send you a few other links that are really important when you get into like coding education and picking the right coding bootcamp and understanding what matters and what doesn't. Rajon Butler, if you wanted to learn both the entrepreneur path and job seeker's path, can you do so? Great question. It depends what you want, right? You can't ever do like, if you do half the time here, half the time there, you end up with two half-baked things. I usually suggest pick one and stick with it and focus, right? If you in between the two, and if you're thinking like, oh man, I really want to do both, and I have that idea that I really want to get live for a long time, that's your main goal, focus on that. But if you think, well, I also would like to have a job and I also need to make money, I need to pay my bills, I tell you, focus on the career seeker path. You're going to get all the skills out of there that you need to build your own application right after you graduate. You're looking for a job and you can do that as a side project while you're actually on a technical team. So I usually say focus on the career seeker path if you're not 100% convinced that this is the application that you really want to build. So for example, Steven, who built his on-demand medical medicine delivery app, right? He was 100% sure that's what he wants to do full-time. That's where he wants to go, and that's what he built. And if you're in between, again, I would always advise you guys to choose the career switch or the job seeker path and go on the group project. Great question. Let's see if I got anything else. There's another one, I think. I already answered Marcos. So guys, if you don't have any other questions, then I'd say can wrap this up. We're about 2 minutes in anyways. If for some reason anything should come up, you have another question, you remember something later tonight or tomorrow, just email me. No problem at all. Happy to help you guys out. In the meantime, go through, apply for the pre-work, finish the coding challenges so we can accept you into the full program. Other than that, thanks so much for listening, guys. Stay awesome and happy coding. Take it easy.